If you thought I was going to start this video by saying the 9 things that Australia does embarrassingly better than the rest of the world are beaches, coffee, sunshine and koalas, you would be wrong. Nah mate, after living here for over a year and a half, I feel slightly smug that I've learned what makes this country so special, and it goes a lot further than seeing a cute little wallaby on your run. So come with me and I'll show you the 9 things that Australia does so good, it makes me do a little giddy dance like this. Let's get straight into it. Number 1, public transport. Okay, Aussies, hear me out. I think a lot of Aussies who have grown up here will probably tell you that the public transport can be a bit shocking. However, as a Brit, I would argue our public transport is so much worse. Aside from London, if you were brought up in a fairly normal British town like I was, Cheltenham, the public transport is questionable. For example, I'll check the bus timetable. My bus is due in 10 minutes. I'll be waiting there for over an hour because I don't know why, and that's just considered normal in the UK. Now in Brisbane, public transport, any kind of public transport, ferry, yeah that's right, ferry, bus and train is only 50 cents. It can also take you from different cities. Not Brisbane to Sydney or anything that extreme, but Brisbane to the Gold Coast, 50 cents mate. That's it, that's the fare. British people, that's 25p. This is genuine madness because if I get a 10-minute bus ride into Cheltenham town centre when I'm back in the UK, a return trip will cost me something like £4, which is for such a tiny distance, and the bus is almost always late, it's not the best deal. And I must say, all the public transport I've got across Brisbane, Melbourne and Sydney, they've always been on time for me. I don't know if I'm just lucky. But let's go to Melbourne. They've got their tram system. It is completely free in the CBD sector of the city, and then outside of that I think it's quite reasonably priced. They're often on time. And then Sydney has their light rail system, which kind of looks like a tram but shaped more like a train, but it's outdoors. You can tap to pay on your phone, which is really nice, and I again think it's quite affordable. Living in Australia, it's kind of woken me up to, if people really wanted to make public transport cheaper, they could. By the way, if you're enjoying this video at all, consider hitting that like button below. Really helps to get more people to see the channel. Number 2, petrol stations. Now, there's a big distinction in the UK between a petrol station and a services. A petrol station is your typical gas station that you will fill up in your local town. There'll be a small shop where you can buy the odd snack and pay for your fuel. Services, on the other hand, has a huge car park. It'll have a McDonald's, a Burger King, maybe a Wetherspoons if you're lucky, maybe a hotel, kids play area, large areas for trucks to stop, fuel station. They're big systems, right? Whereas in Australia, I get very confused with this. They call both the little petrol station and the roadside motorway services where there's lots of food to get for your big road trip, it's all called a servo. And I find that very confusing. So when someone says to me, we'll just stop at the servo, I'm expecting a big food court. But then I get to a BP garage and I get a pie. So it's not a criticism at all, just a slight cultural recalibration, I think. But the UK has to hold the crown on the food court version of the services. If you've never been to Gloucester Services, right next door to Cheltenham, they've literally put a services in a grassy hill, and there's like a little cute farm shop with like homemade pastries in there. Oh, it's just beautiful. But I've gone on a tangent. Australia does a petrol station way better. You go to a 7-Eleven here, you can get Japanese onigiri, you can get a Slurpee, a $1.50 Slurpee. You could get any snack you can think of, plus a whole hot food section with pies and sausage rolls, and they've got an automated coffee machine, which the coffee is pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, enough about petrol. Let's talk about something else that is very important, and that's dessert. Number 3, sweet treats. Mate, I need to tell you about Yochi, right? Imagine a world where you can go in to a glossy white building, got all these pumps, and you pull these levers, right? And it flows with incredibly tasty and yummy frozen yogurt. And I need you to take this seriously, because then there's a toppings bar that goes on for a kilometre. What I don't understand about frozen yogurt is that, to me, it just tastes like ice cream. I can't actually tell the difference. It just feels like an ice cream shop. Honestly, Australian sweet treats put the UK ones to shame. Not only that, they've got gelato shops on every corner here, at least in Brisbane anyway. Oh, and then how can I forget acai bowls, which are technically a health food, but you go to your local cafe for brunch, you can get this smoothie bowl made with acai put a load of fruit and granola on. It's very sweet. And then our UK supermarkets have loads of delicious and very affordable sweet treats. But if you want to go out for a sweet treat, you know, you've got a date or you want to take your parents somewhere nicer, you're usually paying an arm and a leg for it in the UK. I do want to be honest though, there is a downside about the sweet treats in Australia. You can't find a lot of veggie-friendly lollies, sweets, ones that don't have gelatin in. Now, I need to talk to you about something that practically has no purpose at all, but I absolutely love it. And that's number 4, big things. Australia has a big pineapple. It also has a big banana, and guess what? I've been to both. So dotted all over Australia are these absurdly enormous things. Sometimes they're fruits, sometimes there's foods. There's a big lobster, there's a big shrimp or prawn. They often come with some sort of tourist attraction, like the big banana has like a sweet shop, and then they've got like a banana farm and a gift shop. The big pineapple definitely has a zoo attached to it, and Princess Diana visited it around about when it opened, which is really cool. And nobody has really asked for these things. You know, you're trying to pay your rent, bring your kids up, and somebody just thought, mate, I'm gonna build a massive lobster right now. What's really fun about them is you won't even be looking for them, but you'll be trying to travel around Australia, you'll be doing some big road trips, and you'll just see one on the side of the road and you think, well, this is a good place to stop. Maddie and I, we went to the big pineapple on our way back from Noosa. Genuinely one of the highlights of my year. And on the topic of big things, I've just dropped my own merch. Maddie and I got our hands on the samples today, and honestly, this t-shirt is the softest thing I own right now.
Oh, it's so soft.
Yay!
I love it. That's sick.
Would you wear it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's feather light at 120 grams. It's 100% heirloom cotton, and it is so unbelievably comfortable. And to pair with it, I've released this embroidered cap, which literally goes with everything. They've both got the vintage Build Your Adventure design on them, which is a very important belief to me and to this community of being brave and getting out there and trying new things. So both are linked below, or there's a QR code here if you want to check it out if you're watching on telly. Now, number 5, cafes. Cafes here aren't just a vibe, they are a cultural staple, and I am all for it. In the UK, finding a good cafe is like finding a $20 bill in an old coat. Rare, but very exciting. Whereas in Australia, it's like people are handing you free money around every, here mate. You think you'll go into somewhere that looks dingy and you think, oh, the coffee's gonna be awful here. I need a coffee right now, so I'll just buy one. And it turns out to be incredible. It's kind of annoying how good every single cafe is. Now, I'm being a bit harsh on the UK. We do have quite a few good coffee shops, but the last cafe I went to in the UK was fantastic, and I thought, why is this place so good? And it turned out to be owned by an Australian. So I was like, how can I defend the UK cafe culture at this point? And although I've got quite a nice espresso machine at home, which makes lovely coffee, Maddie and I still like getting out there into the community to go and try new cafes, because it's just so much fun here. When you know you're always going to get good coffee and good food, and people are going to be genuinely friendly towards you, it makes you want to keep doing it over and over again. So honestly, the UK could learn a thing or two about Australian cafe culture. And speaking of things that make daily life better and better, this next one changed how I see moving around a city completely. Number 6, cycle paths. This one sounds boring, but stick with me. The cycle path, at least from what I've seen in Brisbane, Melbourne and Sydney, they give you so much more room than a lot of towns in the UK. Of course, London has quite a few cycle paths. We've got the blue one, the C cycle roads that you can get around a lot of central London in very easily. It's very good. But some of the driving in London can be a little bit hairy, I'm not gonna lie. Whereas in Australia, the cycle paths are so wide, and there's a lot of them you can find that aren't actually on the main road with the cars, which means you're even safer. But here, you can get on a bike or you can hire one out, like one of the Lime bikes, and you feel so calm. There's so many private cycle paths that take you over the river or take you along sort of bushland, places like that. There's Balimba Creek Bikeway in Brisbane, which is just this gorgeous, I think it's like a 20-kilometre cycle path that takes you through these gorgeous creeks, through all these like bushes and forests, and oh, it's just beautiful. And I think this is actually bigger than it sounds. The infrastructure of the cities here make you feel welcome. Cycling around Melbourne is also quite pleasant because you get the green cycle lanes that sometimes actually have a curb blocked off from the actual road that the cars drive on, so you feel safe again. And I've noticed that in Australia there's this optimistic vision of let's build our cities and our towns infrastructure to be much more spacious, so then we're not stressed out about it later on. And in the UK, while you might say it's a very small island, there's still a lot of space there that could things could be expanded out to, and we've just cramped ourselves in. We really have. So it's nice living in a city where I'm not trying to negotiate for room, where I can spread my arms out if I can ride the bike still and not fall over, and feel, safe doing it. Number 7, sunscreen. I always tell British friends and family visiting us here in Oz, leave your UK sunscreen at home. Buy some stuff when you get into the supermarkets here. It's properly tested against harsh Australian UV levels, and you know you're going to be safe. And the UV index here is genuinely terrifying, especially in summer. Most days it will get to a peak of 13, which is insane. Like in the UK, even in the summer months, sometimes the highest it gets to in the day is 2. Which is nothing. So remember, if you're going outside and the UV is higher than 3, slap on that sunscreen, put on a hat, put your sunnies on, protect yourself. But we didn't grow up knowing this. Your mum might tell you to put on some SPF 15 on a particularly hot day, but we never got brought up with the same sun safety culture, like no hat, no play in Australia. From sunburn to somewhere much more comfortable, literally. Number 8, comfortable theatre seats. Now this one's very specific to me as an actor, but honestly, the comfort of a theatre seat can make or break a performance for me. I could be watching Sir Laurence Olivier performing Macbeth on stage, right? And if the theatre seat is uncomfortable, I'm just completely out of it. So I've been to a fair few theatres in Australia now and seen lots of different productions, and every single theatre seat I've sat in has been so comfortable. They're just so nice. Whereas in the UK, especially the West End, there's a lot of very lovely old theatres, as you'd expect, and some of the theatre seats are just awful. That your bum hurts so bad after them. Your knees are higher than your waist, and you're so cramped in that you don't want to bump into anyone, so your arms are like this. Now, West End theatre seats, some of them are ancient. This is where it's coming from. Maybe when they were first brought out 100 years ago in this new theatre at the time, everyone was saying these are great, but as more wear and tear gets to them, they lose their comfort levels. Whereas a lot of Australian theatres, not only do they invest a lot of money in them, but they're a lot more modern typically. And I think if you're coming to Australia and want to see some, live music, stand-up comedy, musical theatre, you're going to be nicely surprised. And finally, the one that surprised me the most, number 9, Aussies will actually stop to help you. Now, I was lost in Melbourne on a run, properly lost. My phone was not on me. It was back in the Airbnb because I thought, I'll remember my way home. And I had no way of getting back. And the first person I stopped, waiting for the train, they were on their commute to go to their job. And they got their phone out, they showed me Google Maps, they directed me, they were so lovely and friendly. And I'm embarrassed to admit, this isn't the first time I've got lost on a run in Australia. If I'm on a vacation in a new Australian city, I like to just sort of wing it. And if you look visibly stuck as well, there's a lot of Aussies that will go out of their way to stop and help you. I experienced a very similar thing in Japan as well. People want, in both countries, if they see you in distress, they will want to go out of their way to help you. Whereas there are some places in the UK, and I'm not just talking about London, I come from quite a small Cotswolds town, where people will just walk on by. But I kind of think we're all human, aren't we? We got to help each other. And it is so nice because people will check in with you, even if they've never met you before. They'll make sure you're okay, especially if they can tell you're a foreigner. People don't want you to have a bad time. And it seems to be a cultural thing. Australians have this strong sense of community, even in big cities, even when they're total strangers. And I love that. This might sound like a small thing, but honestly, the world needs more of this right now. And even on the tough days, it makes me realize how blessed and grateful I should be of living in this gorgeous, gorgeous place. Now YouTube thinks that you're gonna love the video on screen right now. Go click that, it might just become your new favorite video. And a massive shout out to anyone who's just grabbed the Build Your Adventure merch. You could be one of the first people in the world wearing it. And just a heads up, the t-shirt is so soft and lightweight, it will probably become your favorite tee you have in your entire wardrobe. Have an amazing one, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.